me do that. It didn't sound very excited. I didn't seem happy.
Emily's miserable. I'm just kidding.
I am. We both are have our monthly gift. So
yeah.
I hate calling it that, but my sister used to call it that.
Oh.
And,
monthly gift?
Yeah, like, oh, I got my monthly gift. And I just kind of hate that because I don't feel like it's a gift at all.
No, I like to be more dramatic with my words.
Your uterus falling out?
Yeah, both of our uteruses are falling out.
Yes.
Together. Because that's what friends do. Anyways.
Welcome to the Blanket Burritos. I'm Emily.
I'm Sarah. Welcome.
All right. Oh, Sarah, I just wanted to let you know because I feel like a lot of our video sessions start off this way, or like talking sessions. I need to tell you about a gross thing I ate and how I regret it.
Uh-oh. What'd you eat?
I had peanut butter M&Ms, and like one of the top ingredients, which I just realized is on here, is lactose.
Yeah. The peanut butter M&Ms are yes.
Why? What is lactose about M&Ms? They're like peanut butter.
Oh, that's true. I'm thinking of the chocolate ones. Maybe the shell has chocolate. I don't know.
I don't know. I was very upset and my tummy hurts, and I feel like a lot of our like talking sessions are just me starting off with, Sarah, I ate this thing and I regret it because my tummy hurts now. And then she bans me from eating things, and then sometimes I listen.
Yeah. Most of the time she doesn't, but it's okay.
I stopped eating ice cream. I stopped the ice cream. I stopped the KFC.
That's true, you did. You found an alternative because at the end of the day, you wanted the mashed potatoes, not the actual KFC.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted the mashed potatoes.
Very nice.
Oh, I have to resolve that with our viewers. So, I know I promised one of you very lucky viewers some KFC. And I'm just going to be honest with you because that's just what we do on this podcast. I ate it.
I don't think anyone was anticipating that you were going to keep the KFC.
All right. I just wanted to be honest because
that's fair. Yeah.
They might be expecting like a KFC giveaway that I just can't provide for them, and I have to let them know up front what's going on.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, we start off our podcast with oracle card and or tarot card readings. You're reading, my lady.
Oh, okay. I did a different oracle deck, because I was feeling spicy today. I have the Seas of Mintaka, which is like, ooh, like
I love how you're showing it. Like,
no one's gonna see it, but like you can see it.
I can see it. It's beautiful. There's a bunch of beaches.
Beach, but I would swim there.
I would too.
I also got the Child of the Cosmos.
Very pretty.
And then All Paths Lead to Home, which I love this card.
It's a very sweet card, yeah.
It's cozy. It's cozy.
So what's it saying?
This is how I interpreted it. So Seas of Mintaka says, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. So I like the water, it kind of looks like you're like in the water, like half, like your camera is like under the water, but you can still see like part, like above, if that makes sense. And I think it's like the idea is like the water there is like so clear, like you can see anything that's beneath the surface, like an iceberg kind of thing.
Oh.
And the Child of Cosmos is saying the intelligence of the universe lies within you, so like you have like the like intelligence within you. And then basically I think the All Paths Lead to Home is just like kind of hammering in that point of like you going within will find you the answers and bring what you need that's like in the depth of yourself to light.
That's beautiful.
So that's kind of how I interpreted it.
That's so funny because that fits so well with the card that I pulled.
Really?
Yeah, it does. So I'm using, I love this deck, the Shamanic Healing Oracle cards deck. And the card I got was Integration.
Ooh.
Which, like, this week for me is all about integration. So this is very applicable to me, but I guess applicable to our viewers too. So we are bombarded every day in every way with messages on who we should be, what we should do, and what we should wear and how we should live. These messages are coming from media, society, our family, and friends. Even strangers can drown out who we are really meant to be, who we have grown into lifetime after lifetime. Find some quiet moments in your day to identify and start a relationship with that small, strong voice inside of you. Pretty soon you won't hear any other messages. Many times in your interaction with others, you hear that small voice that tells you something is not right. Your logical mind tells you to stop it, nothing is wrong. Stop being silly / dramatic / overreacting. You may ignore your inner voice in a quest to fit in, to be loved or admired. You do not realize that your inner voice is warning you that the other person's energy is not matching their words or actions. Listen to your instincts about a person or situation. So basically, it's saying stop shooting on yourself. I love that saying because we shouldn't should ourselves, right? So it's listening to that internal, going inside, like you said, Sarah, and figuring out what's authentic to you and what you want. And it doesn't always have to be logical or what society deems as like really important or deems as logical. Because right, like we talk about like starseed stuff and a whole bunch of other woo-woo stuff that like maybe necessarily isn't explained by science, but in our souls, like once we learned more about starseed stuff, like we just knew, like it was like an inner knowing, like, oh, this is it, this is real.
Makes
and I
sense,
think it's listening to that and using your discernment and not necessarily thinking about what society or what culture tells you is correct.
Oh, so cool. They like matched each other.
Wow. What's going on, viewers? Do you need some love? Are we going through a situation?
Maybe.
I'm going through a situation.
You're going through a situation?
No, I just have a lot of feelings because I have my period and I have so much earth in my chart that like I'm not good at feeling feelings. I hate it because it's just it feels really overwhelming.
Yeah.
To feel feelings. And I don't like it. And I think integration is actually a perfect card because it's talking about like witnessing and sitting with your feelings instead of just like going crazy and taking action. And which is what I would do. Like when I have really gross feelings, I'm like, I need to solve it right now and fix it and figure out how to fix it. Whereas like, yeah, see, Sarah, I learned stuff today. I had an insight moment. What do they call that?
It's like
an epiphany?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the right word, I think.
Why not? Of like, instead of that hyper masculine energy of, oh, I need to fix this and figure it out. That's also a way of escapism, even though like I'm acknowledging it. I'm also escaping it from trying to figure it out instead of just sitting there and sitting with the feelings and letting it go. So that's what we learned today.
Wow, that's really cool. I feel like I'm like confused. Like I will do like the deep dive and sit, but I'll sit for like too long sometimes, I think.
So you'll like overthink it to death.
Yeah, like I think like I don't like thinking about the feeling. I'm a very confused human because like I have like Capricorn and stuff in the earth where I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this. But then a lot of my other chart is Scorpio, which is literally like very like deep dive into darkness and stuff. And then we just sit there and we're like, why are we here? But
yeah, well, I think it's kind of what we were talking about where you're not necessarily like problem solving or thinking about it. You're just observing it.
Yeah.
Without judging it and without like trying to problem solve. It's just like, okay, I'm here. I'm a consciousness observing the emotion of XYZ or what I'm feeling. There's a really good self-compassion meditation for those of you that also really hate feeling. Kristen Neff is really good at self-compassion. So if you're sitting there and you're really frustrated with yourself about like logically this is how it like should be, why isn't this how, like why can't I let this go, why can't I just like, because I know logically like whatever, there's like, it's something on YouTube called like a 5-minute self-compassion break. It's really good. It takes 5 minutes. You should do it.
Ooh.
That's I'm not getting paid. I just really like it and it's changed my life. So
I'll try it. And it's only like 5 minutes. That's like perfect.
Yeah,
like
exactly. So what do we do? What's our next thing? You have
the fall in love question.
Ooh, okay, Sarah.
Do you remember them?
What?
Do you remember them? I'm curious.
No, not at all.
Okay. This one's interesting. All right.
You have to introduce the segment though.
Oh, this is the fall in love with us questions where I think there's 36 questions in this whole exercise. And the idea is like there's a certain like tiers, and typically when two people do it together, the more you go into the questions, the deeper they get. So you like establish some sort of like connection or understanding. And the whole thing is like, can you actually fall in love with someone with these like 36 questions? And the point is that we want you to fall in love with us.
Correct. Yes.
Or just like get to know us better, but like hopefully fall in love with us.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's yeah. This psychologist basically did a study on 36 questions and see if people fall in love. And I didn't read the research because I don't think I care enough. But if you've read it, let us know in the comments down below. Let us know
how to go.
Yeah. All right. So what's the first question?
If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
So this is interesting because I feel like this gets like very philosophical, and I feel like most people would say like it's shallow to be like, oh, the body of a 30-year-old, but what does it mean to like keep the mind of a 30-year-old?
I'll explain my reason to thinking. Do you want me to explain which one I choose? Okay.
Yes.
And it's a personal thing.
Okay.
So I would choose having the mind of a 30-year-old, not because like, oh, the body is like shallow, but because typically when people age, and I've seen this with my grandmother and both sides of the family, grandmother, the mind tends to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And the body does too, but like the mind tends to deteriorate, and I don't know. I think that would be cool to like just still have the sharpness in the mind to be able to like, just like communicate clearly and stuff like that, because that's something I've seen like with my own family is like when you get older, like the mind, it does.
See, here's my question, and here's my we're going in like through a loophole, right? The brain is a part of the body, is it not?
Yeah.
So I'm choosing 30-year-old body. Bam.
All right.
Both. But
well, you can also argue that the mind of a 30-year-old will keep you more sharp in the mind, which could potentially keep you sharp in the body as well.
No, you could say the same thing for the body.
Yeah. Ooh, this is like which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Oh my god.
Like, no, the chicken, no, the egg. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about these questions. I mean, not all the time, but they tend to can lead to more philosophically questions, which is probably why these could lead to like falling in love and stuff, because you get to know a person's like inner thoughts.
Yeah. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? I don't know.
Ooh, I thought of you when I saw that question, honestly.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would change anything.
I wouldn't, even though there was so much trauma and abuse that I had to live through. I came out the other side as like who I am now, and if I hadn't, then I might not be the same person. And I don't know, I just feel like that's like, this is, I obviously chose what I chose for a reason, right? So we believe that when you're reincarnated, like you choose the life and you kind of plan it out, and who, like, you choose your parents, you choose the people that you're going to like vibe with, and who's gonna teach you certain lessons, and a lot of things are planned out. So obviously this was planned out for a reason. And so no, I wouldn't. I mean, maybe like if I was going to change anything, I think I would maybe change my, I don't even know if I would change that though, but I was thinking like my mom having more compassion for like my grades way back when, because I had undiagnosed ADHD, and so my grades were really, really awful, and like nobody could diagnose me because I masked really well, which is basically like you hide it really well, and because I didn't like have the outwardly like stereotypical symptoms of ADHD, which are, I guess, in people's heads, like bouncing off the walls and being really disruptive in class. And I was never that, because I was too traumatized and too scared of people to even like want to talk to people or want to be crazy and off the walls. Like I was just like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to stay hidden and not seen and not move, because that was what I learned was safe. So maybe I would change that, but I don't know.
I don't think I would change anything either. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you went through all that for a reason. You would be a different person otherwise. And, you know, like, that's not the point. Like, we were supposed to be these people, not other people. Even though if there were, like, some, like, weird moments or whatever, with the way I was raised, like, I wouldn't change it, I would say.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So for our next segment, Sarah just learned about this, but I am on Reddit, not all the time, but sometimes, and there is this subreddit called Am I the Asshole?, where basically people tell a story and people can rate whether or not they are the asshole or not. And then sometimes they're both the asshole. I chose ones that were fairly new at the times when I received them, so there were not ratings, but we'll get into it. So what is the first one? Ooh, all right. So this person, so her parents got divorced, and then her mom got remarried and had another kid. So she redecorated her room and worked really hard on it, spent her own money on it.
The, like, older kid, right?
Yeah. And then, so I guess she has a half sister. And so while this girl was visiting her dad, her biological dad, her half sister went into her room and she told the girl who's writing this stepdad that she wanted the room because it looked nice to her. And her mom asked her, like, oh, like, and will you give her your room? It would mean a lot to her, and she could take her room and redecorate that one. And the girl who's writing this said like no, but she offered to help her decorate it, like the sister decorate it herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so basically her mom's calling her a brat. Her husband is calling her, the mom's husband is calling her selfish, and that she was crushing his daughter's feelings. And that was the only thing she said she wanted for Christmas. And she's wondering if he's the asshole.
No.
What do you think?
No.
No. Absolutely not.
That's someone's personal, like, room with their personal belongings. Like, you want that exact room, like, with all of her stuff. You're basically saying, like, I want all of her stuff. Like, she offered to help redecorate another room with you. That's, like, just being, like, super, like...
It's bratty on the sister's part. And I don't know how old the half-sister is, but I think that's really terrible. And I think that the parents gaslighting the poor girl that's writing this is really terrible, calling her like mean and selfish when like their
room, like,
yeah, that's her safe space. Like, and she worked really hard on creating that sacred, beautiful space for herself. She shouldn't have to give it up and then be gaslit for it. That's terrible.
Yeah.
If you were listening to this by some random weird chance, you are not the asshole.
No, not at all.
I will gladly say it to their faces. Parents, if you're listening to this, you're assholes. How dare you?
Yeah.
Next one.
That's fucked up.
This one I haven't read.
Ooh, this one I just read, and oh.
Okay, you tell me about it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the gist. There's like this girl who's like, she has a group of like 6 close friends. And one of her friends was going to be the first in her friend group to be married. Like they like did a whole wedding and all, they were planning a whole wedding. And she does preface that saying this girl wasn't really a bridezilla. She just loved the like process of like planning everything out and stuff. The girl who's writing the story,
right,
said her and her, I guess, boyfriend, fiance, I don't know at the time, like they never really wanted like a traditional wedding or engagement or anything. They were just like, you know, like when the time's right, we'll just like go down to like town hall, whatever the hell you go, and just get married. So like they weren't really engaged. They weren't really like, but they like knew they wanted to be with each other. So, and I think there was like a day that they said like that they both had off from work. And typically when they both have off from work, it's gloomy or like gross out, like because snow or whatever. And like that day was like a really nice day and like good weather and stuff. And they were like, you know, like, let's just go on down there and get married. Like, why not? Right. And it happened to be like, I guess a little bit before the other girl's wedding. They were like,
you went out for a lot of that for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you hear last?
So it was a really nice day.
Oh, really nice day. They decided, you know what? It's a nice day. We both have off from work. Let's just go down to town hall. Let's just go get married.
Okay.
And it happened to be like a little bit before the other girl's wedding. And it was just a nice day. They're like, why not? And they said, you know what? We're not going to say anything at the wedding. Like, we'll tell her like later. Like, it's her day. We're not going to like make a thing out of it. Months later, they bring it up and they're like, oh yeah, like we went and we got married like whatever, like a week or how many weeks before you guys.
Yeah.
And the girl got like apparently very upset being like, because they were the first ones to get married and they're like, you didn't even tell us, like we're your friends, like you're supposed to tell us. And like,
oh
now,
my
like,
God.
And apparently their friends are split on who, like if they're upset or not. There's 6 of them. And half of them are like, no, that's stupid. And half of them are like, yeah, you should have told her. She was the first. Like, what?
First off, can I just say that's 6 too many friends? And
yes. Accurate.
It
has nothing to do with her. Like, number one.
Yes, correct.
And they weren't like in the middle of the girl's wedding being like, by the way, we got married before you. Haha.
Right. Like, that's terrible to do. And they didn't even matter about that. Like they were trying to be considerate and you're just like, Oh, no, you are not the asshole writer. You are not.
No.
God, that is, I don't, and this is a really interesting thing that I think we should talk about. Because I was listening to someone else's podcast. It's called Just Between Us by Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin, who are some of my favorite comedy writers. And this was like in 2019, but basically Gabby didn't tell Allison something. And I guess she always does this where like she like keeps something from her for a while. Like she doesn't usually tell her immediately. And Allison gets very upset about it because she feels like her best friend should tell her everything. And like there was like a huge fight on the podcast.
Like an actual fight?
I mean, yeah. It's called The Fight. Go watch it. Promoting their podcast. Alice and Gabby, if you want to give me royalties, that would be great. I'm kidding. But or invite me on. That'd be cool. So I guess the question is, should you tell your best friend everything?
Oh my God. Like, no, here's the no, I don't like that because I've had people who have been like, we're friends. Why don't you tell me everything? You tell this person something, but you don't tell me. And I've had multiple people do this to me. And it's like, the thing is, like, you'll tell your friends or whoever friends you want to when you feel comfortable. That's it. I've never pushed someone to like spill their guts to me. You tell me when you want to tell. I don't care. Like,
exactly. And I think this attachment to the idea that your best friend needs to tell you everything almost makes them like, it's like law of attraction, right? It makes them not want to.
yes.
And Gabby almost says that where she's like, you know, there's like, she's like, I don't know why I do it. I just, and then she like goes into like some more psychological stuff about like her family and why she does it. But I think also like if your friend explains why she does something and it bothers you, like have a little bit more compassion and understanding. But then like I guess Allison was saying like Gabby gets a little bit of enjoyment out of it. Like you can see like almost a little bit of enjoyment out of it. But I don't know if it's enjoyment as much as it is like maybe she's uncomfortable and hides it as enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because when I'm uncomfortable, I get really like maybe a little bit giggly or like seem like sly about it. But it's not because I'm being sly or doing it on purpose. It's just because like I'm uncomfortable. So I'm going to pretend like I'm doing this on purpose.
I can understand like I like the only thing I can understand about the other end is like it's like the idea of like let's say maybe the other friend does tell their friend everything like as soon as stuff happens. And I think that's their argument being like, oh, but like I tell you and I'm honest with you, but that's not a good argument because the whole idea is like they'll tell you when they're comfortable. Mm-hmm. You pushing them to tell you things all the time is what's making them not comfortable.
Yeah, and
that way. And also, maybe you're a little judgmental. Maybe that's why they didn't want to tell you, like, because they know that you're gonna judge them. Like that's not like
right. And I think also like that pressure to tell somebody something is almost like you were saying, like it's creating a very unsafe environment because if they're holding this like expectation of you that doesn't make you comfortable and you feel like you have to say things that you're not ready to say yet, like that would put me in a very like in a space of panic and freeze. And I would not want to say anything or maintain a relationship with that person.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't like that. It's like you don't have to tell your best friends everything. Like, yes, ideally, if you're that close with them, you should be able to.
Yeah.
Should. But you don't have to, you shouldn't have to feel like you have to. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't also like feel like there's a pressure. If you don't, they're going to get mad. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
The idea is you tell them when you feel comfortable and like
exactly
vice versa. Like
right. Like if I found out you told somebody something like 4 months ago and then I just found out now, I would be like, okay. Like clearly it wasn't like applicable to what we were talking about.
Right.
Like I'm wondering though, because this was about like romantic situations. So I'm wondering if it was like about a romantic situation, would I feel like a little bit more saltier about it if you told someone else?
Well, I mean, to be honest, like you said, like if you're good enough, like I said, if you're good enough friends, like you should be able to tell them everything. I typically tell you everything first, so.
I know, but I'm thinking this is a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, I might be a little bit like concerned, like, why didn't she tell me? Because listen, the reason that when I knew Sarah trusted me, because she never tells anyone anything about her love life ever, was in 7th grade, and she doesn't remember this, and I'm heartbroken over it.
She's like, this is the moment we were friends, Sarah, and you don't even remember.
I knew she trusted me because she doesn't tell anyone anything, not even her parents, no one, about who she like likes or has a crush on. So when she told me that she had a crush on, we should give him a name, Derek.
Yes.
I knew that she trusted me. In that moment, I've carried with me in my heart. It makes me so happy. And I still think about it and feel so honored. And then like 2 weeks ago, I think I told her that, and she's like, I don't remember this.
I don't even remember. I also don't even remember having a crush on that person, so that shows really my devotion. Like,
I know.
It was like in middle school. Like, it's fine. Like,
it's not fine though. And so ooh, we could talk about this. I have a weird trigger about people not remembering things.
Ooh.
And I don't know why. So if like I say something and like, I guess it's because I make a very big conscious effort because I do struggle a lot with my ADHD to remember things. So to me, what it means to me to remember things is like, oh, I care about you.
Right.
And so like, if somebody doesn't like remember me, if I was at like a party or something, or like if like we're talking about something and I'm like, oh yeah, you already like, not like if they're telling me a story again, because like obviously like it's hard to remember who you've told stories to, but like if they're telling me about this band that they listen to and like I'm the one that introduced it to them and like they don't remember that, or like or like we listened to it together and I'm like, yeah, I know we listened to that together. Like it's hard for me not to be really, really hurt by that.
Oh.
And I don't know why.
I think it's like you said, because you make a really conscious effort to remember things. Because like you said, that's the way like you show your care. Like where like maybe the other person not necessarily, that's not the way they show they care. Ooh, this like gets into the whole like we're flying off the rails today. Not really.
We're going like, crazy.
Going rogue. This goes into like love languages. I feel like it's like the like, you know what I mean? Like I've had like, I feel like I've had experiences where like I've had like friends or like even like one person that I kind of dated for like 2 seconds where like it was very clear that our like love languages were different, and like that's such a bummer because it's like you just feel like they don't even see what you're doing for them, and that's like the shittiest part when they don't match.
Yeah, I think for me it's less like what they don't, it's less about what they don't see that I'm doing and more about like I don't feel loved or seen or cared or heard.
Oh.
And like, and this comes up again and again in my relationships. This is why I'm bringing it up, because clearly it's like some karma like thing, like, or some limiting belief or something that like I need to like figure out.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. But so like I guess if we're going back to, we're going to bring it full circle, I promise. If we're bringing it back to what we were talking about, like should you tell your best friend everything? Is it the same thing? right? Or am I doing the same thing that person's doing, where it's like, well, I do that, why don't you do that? But I'm not like holding that expectation for them. Like, I just feel really hurt, and I think that's the difference.
Oh, I see.
Like, I feel like you can feel hurt, and that's valid, and I don't want to like invalidate those feelings.
No.
But I think you also have to realize like people show things in different ways, and you know, like you could either accept them for who they are and what they do, and what they're going to tell you, or you can just find somebody who aligns with what you think and holds that very strict, like, oh, you need to tell me everything right now. Kind of thing, which I think is stressful. And honestly, like, I don't even know if you'd be able to find it when you're in that mentality of like, oh, this needs to happen, because that's an attachment that I think is unhealthy.
And also, like, it's chances are, like, if they're not telling you something as well, like, it might just be because they're like uncomfortable about like that specific thing. Like, they might not tell anyone. They literally might just like chill by themselves and like think about it. Like, chances are they haven't told anyone else. Like,
that's absolutely valid. You're right, Sarah. Like, I don't know if you do this, but like sometimes it depends. But like sometimes, and what we were talking about today with like integration, sometimes you just need to go inside yourself and figure things out before you even tell anyone else.
Yeah, because you don't even know yourself really what's happening sometimes.
Do you ever do that?
What,
or do you just feel like are you a person that needs to talk it out with somebody, or would you rather sit there and like take the time and like, or does it depend?
I think it depends on the situation. Sometimes I just like sit with myself and like really think it out. Sometimes I'll call you and talk it out sometimes. So
do you hear my mom right now?
I thought I heard something, but I don't know.
Okay, well, she keeps humming and it's really annoying. Sorry.
We love her.
Shut up. I'm trying to film a podcast right now. Literally, I'm going to scream. Like, she never comes home singing, and then like the day I'm filming the podcast, like she has to be like the loudest.
She had a good day. I'm just kidding.
I don't care. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to make something of my life.
Oh my god.
What were we talking about? What were you saying?
Sometimes I talk to you, sometimes I sit and stew.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's also helpful to like sit and stew and like come up with like options, and then like call the person and be like, okay, so here's what I have figured out. Is there something I'm not seeing? Like, it's helpful to have another person who's not really attached to the situation's like point of view, and then like be like, okay, here are my options. Like, I could do this, or like they could offer like another thing, because often like I'm very hyper masculine energy where I'm like go go go, and like sometimes like you or my mom will offer more feminine energy and be like, well, maybe let's wait for them to come to you, because like you just want to fix everything right now, and that's like not like, some people aren't ready or like want to be fixed.
They're not ready. Yeah. It also could be like, and this could be applied to even like, I know like when I get really upset or like mad about something, like typically like I'm not going right away and being like, I'm mad at you in the moment I'm mad. Like, I just like go and I sit with myself and I was like, why did that make me upset? What's going on? And then I'll be like, how can I like talk to that person about it in like a very like way that it's like a fruitful conversation, like it doesn't offend anyone, it doesn't, and then like I think about it and then I'll go talk to the other person. That doesn't mean that like it's like the same thing, I feel like, as like sometimes you just have to sometimes wait, think about it before you tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends on the person, but and the situation, and I don't, like you said, like ideally that would be the ideal, right? Like you have a person that you feel, I think it's more, the ideal is you have a best friend that you feel safe enough to tell everything to when you're ready.
Yeah.
And you might not ever be, and that's okay. Like there are some things about like my mental stuff that I go through that like I've never talked to anyone about.
Right. Yeah.
And like you've never pressured me like when I talk about my OCD, because there are a lot of OCD thoughts that like I don't want to talk about, and you've never pressured me like, oh, you need to tell me this.
No.
You know? That's always really nice, because I have had people in the past be like, oh, what are they about? And it's very uncomfortable for me to explain it. Because a lot of the time it varies. And then a lot of the time it's just like, if it's triggering for me and it's that upsetting for me that like it's like it causes a compulsion, like I'm obviously not very comfortable talking about it.
Right.
But a lot of my OCD is, for the viewers listening, is centered around like relationships, or like people like dying, or like which is a very common one. So I've heard. So just like basically fear of abandonment, which is so interesting because I never identified as a person who has like abandonment issues.
Ooh, I feel like I kind of have that a little bit too, but I don't know how that, or like where, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think, and it was interesting because a lot earlier in my life, I think attracted a lot of people with abandonment issues, and I would always find them very clingy and hard to be friends with. I never identified with that because I was like, well, I'm not clingy. I'm not this, so I can't have abandonment issues. But I think just because it doesn't manifest in the same way doesn't mean I don't have it.
Right.
And I think that's something interesting to think about. What are we doing next?
There are like some most Googled questions. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pick a number 1 through 5.
My gut, that's why I'm laughing. My gut just immediately, like, I didn't really like process the numbers. I just wanted to be like 7.
That's the number I was thinking of.
Oh, that's crazy. I can read your mind. 3.
3. Ooh. Why is he not calling me back?
Oh no, I hate that question.
That's like a lot. Like there are like so many layers to why he probably isn't calling you back.
Well, okay, I think the thing we have to talk about is, if they're Googling this question, I think it's, well, I don't know. What time frame are we talking about?
Yeah, like if it's like 10 minutes, it's like calm down.
Yeah. Maybe he's pooping.
Yeah, maybe he's sleeping.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm a big napper, and I've had a lot of problems in relationships where they've called and I've been napping.
And they're offended.
One time, no joke. Anyway.
I also just like, I have my phone and I put it down and I literally like disappear somewhere else in the house to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come back to like all these, and I'm like, well, I just am not very good with my phone personally. Mm-hmm. Like, so. Yeah,
I think it's also like some people just aren't attached to their phone. And it's acknowledging that, like, I really love being in the present moment, and I hate, like, the thing I hated about being in relationships was like, there's always this obligation to like always be talking to them sometimes, not all the time, but in a lot of my past relationships, I felt like this obligation to always be like messaging them back at a quick pace, or like, then if it's been 2 hours and I got distracted with something, I'd have to come up with an excuse other than like what I was actually doing. And it's really stressful. I hate being on my phone, and I hate like not being in the moment. But that's also texting. We're talking about calling.
Oh, yeah. The only so the scenario that I think of that like probably will probably be an issue is like, let's say they're like very communicative person and texting and calling, and they typically do like call you back like at a, you know, they're like a reliable person, and all of a sudden they're not calling you back. Mm-hmm. Then that's Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like maybe like there might be something that happened like that, mm-hmm. like isn't like, oh, they like don't want to like talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
It could be
Like
something
it could be a
completely
family emergency or
right.
something. But if they're doing it like consistently, where like they'll be really responsive for like a couple weeks and then like a couple weeks they're not, I think that's more like just them seeing how much that they can get away with and use you
Yeah.
when it's convenient for them, and that's
Right.
not very healthy for a relationship.
No.
There's so many different scenarios. But like, I mean, if it's only happened once and
Right.
they give a good excuse about why, you know, they haven't been there, give them the benefit of the doubt. But if it happens again, then I would have a very serious conversation with them.
Yeah.
But if they're not calling you at all, like, that's so tricky. And I feel like it's so hard to get over somebody without that like closure, because it's always like that thought of like, okay, what if I start like going on dating apps again and then all of a sudden they pop up? What am I going to do?
Right.
But I think it's absolutely valid for you after a certain amount of time, like especially if it's been like a month. If they haven't called you, move on. And if they try to come back, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Unless, again, really, really amazing excuse. Like my mom died and I had to fly to Costa Rica to plan a funeral, and then I didn't have cell service because I dropped my cell phone in a lake and I couldn't find a cell service because I was in bumblefuck nowhere.
Yeah.
It's very specific scenario.
Yes. Yeah.
But any other thoughts about that?
Not really. I think, like we said, there could be so many like scenarios, but like the general scenarios, like you said, like if they just like stop calling you back and just like it's like they're ignoring you or only talking to you when it's convenient for them, I don't think that's a good place.
Yeah, like have more respect for yourself, but also like use your own discernment, like we were talking about, like what's right for you.
Yeah.
Because you know there are some people that really like to be calling all the time or like needing that response, and I think that's valid, and that's a valid thing if you find that that's a need for your relationship, but maybe this person isn't right for you then.
Yeah,
and that's okay. It just means you have different thingies. But
yeah.
Okay, you choose the question.
I choose the question. How do I go on a date?
Oh.
Like, I don't even know how you answer that. Like,
that's why I put it on there. I'm like, that's one of the most Googled questions, and I feel like we could talk about that. Like,
also,
why?
like, straight up mood. Like, how?
Well, and I looked at like the response for it, and it wasn't very clear. It wasn't a very good response. It was just basically like, oh, be yourself. And I hate that. I hate that response. Yeah, because it's like, what is being yourself?
Yeah, like here's the thing. Other people can be themselves because they're not as strange as me, or maybe you are. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't just straight out of the water be ourselves. Maybe we should. I don't know. We have to like ease them into the weird, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like
easing into the weird.
It depends. Like,
it also depends on if they're weird too. Then you're like, oh, fine, we're both weird. It's cool. Like,
exactly. Like, oh, you both believe in aliens? Awesome. Talk about the Greys all day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I channeled the Pleiadians the other night. Awesome. Like, but I'm not gonna like straight off the gate. I'll ease into it where I'll be like, oh, I'm a tarot card reader and I read the Akashic Records, and then like I'll tell them what the Akashic Records is, and maybe that's a little woo-woo, and that kind of gives me a feel for whether or not they're gonna be more open to stuff. And if they're not open to stuff like that, then like, bye, sis. Like, I don't need you. Yeah. Well, like, I don't even care if they like believe in it. It's more just like being kind and respectful, like respecting.
Yeah.
Because it is something that I care very deeply about.
Yeah.
And it's like my other job. And so if you don't have respect for that, then I can't be with you.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're asking. They're asking, how do they go on a date?
I don't even know how to answer that. Like, what do you mean? Like,
how do maybe they're asking, like, how do they get asked out on a date?
Oh, I don't know. That's never happened to me in real life.
I think
I've
I
never
think
actually been asked out in like real life, so I
oh
don't know.
really? Like not even like oh like hey, you want to get coffee sometime or like nothing like that?
Like nothing that was like in person. No.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, you're also very like shy and
that's true.
I'm very like in your face blah. So
Mm,
I'm probably more it's probably more comfortable for people to ask me rather than like ask you.
that's true. I like sit there and I'm like, I gotta go now.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they probably don't even know like what your vibe is.
Where I'm at.
Yeah, and whereas like I flirt with every single moving thing. So like even if people I'm not interested in think I'm flirting with them all the time.
Wow.
And I'm not, but you know what's really funny? I'm going off on a tangent. I didn't take my meds today. Um, is that the people that I flirt the most with is like my guy friends' girlfriends.
I love that.
Like I'll always make jokes about like marrying them or like stealing them from them. And like
Guys.
Matt's wife,
Yeah.
I'll always like I love her. I always make jokes about that. And I always wonder like how does that make Matt feel? Or like how does that make them feel? Do they feel like emasculated? Are they worried that I'm gonna steal their girl? Like
Everyone watch out. Emily's gonna steal your girl. Like
anyway, so I found that really funny and a weird quirk that I do that I don't understand why I do it, but I do it. You know what I think it is? Which is really weird. It's because I kind of want them to like how important like their girlfriend is to them. Like to like see their girlfriend's worth
Oh, that's interesting.
because I think me as like a person I always worry about like whether or not I like about my worth and my worthiness of like having relationships and being in a relationship with a person.
Mhm.
So I think I like put that on the girlfriend.
You like reflected on them or
I
like
do. I
you
do. And I'm like, oh, I need to make this man see how awesome his girlfriend is.
that's so funny.
Even though like I know, I'm aware that like he probably I mean, if I'm being introduced to the lady, like he's probably pretty serious about her.
Right, right.
Um yeah, just a little quirk I do.
This little quirk. I don't think we actually answered that question. I don't even know how to answer
Oh shoot. Okay. So first off, you have to get a date. That's the first step. Get a date. To go on the date, it depends on where you live. So
that.
either
What you're
oh
comfortable with,
what?
what you're comfortable doing, what you like doing, like
Mm-hmm.
figure out something you both want to like do. Like,
Right. That's also good. So number two, figure out where you want to go on the date.
right.
We're really breaking this down. Number three, figure out transportation on how you're going to get to the date.
Yes.
And then four, go to the place using the transportation that was already figured out in number three.
Yes.
And then five, do the date.
Yeah.
Maybe they're asking, like, how do you talk to somebody on a date? Like, what do you talk about?
Oh, I feel like you start off like I don't know actually. Let's be honest. This is
No, I feel like you had a really good thing going. What was it?
like you just talk like you get to know them as like a person. Like don't even like I think like the at least like a first date is like not like supposed to be something that's like pressure or like has a lot of
Yeah.
pressure. It's supposed to be like oh like even if like just think of it as like trying to get to know like a new friend, just like see like if you have anything in common
Right.
like oh my god, the only thing that's coming to my mind is from oh what's that movie? Damn it. She's the Man. Where
Do
you both like cheese? I don't know. Like maybe don't use that as an example, but like that's the only thing that came to my mind right now.
So there's this scene for those of you that haven't watched She's the Man. If you haven't watched it, it's amazing. It's such a good movie. It's based on Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. And there's this guy who's really afraid of talking to women, so he goes on he doesn't go on a practice date. He goes on a double date with the main character and like the girl that he's dating, and then another girl. And so what happens is his date, the dude who's really nervous, leaves with the main character for some reason. I forget why. But then he's left with the main character's date, and he's just looking at her, and he doesn't know what to say. And he's like, so, do you like cheese? It's a really good movie. Go watch it.
Go watch it.
But yeah, I think when you're younger, though, like, first dates are a lot more scarier because I feel like you don't really go on Tinder. So I feel like you've like known the person maybe a little bit, like, you know, you've like seen each other, maybe you've hung out a little bit in school or like after school and so I guess that can be a little bit more nerve-wracking because if it does go bad, like you do have to see that person like every day and like think about like.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that. That's never really. Yeah.
So maybe that's like it's like more of a high schooler question because honestly, like once you become an adult, I feel like, and in the comments you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but first dates become a lot less scary because it's just like I never have to see this person ever again if I don't want to. So if this turns out badly, like but normally like for me, I'll be able to like know whether or not we're gonna have a good first date, and then that's when I'll agree to it, or like ask them like, oh, do you want to get coffee or something. Like I won't agree to it unless I really think like, oh, there could be something like fun about them.
Right.
Or maybe like they're extremely hot. I don't know, like whatever you want.
Whatever
you just want a booty call, like I don't know. That was good. So thank you so much for listening to our third episode of Blanket Burritos.
Ooh, yeah.
Thank you for being here this long and hanging out with us. And if you are watching on the YouTube video, comment, like, subscribe, all that shebang. We would love to hear from you and hear your thoughts. Sarah, anything?
No, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys in our next adventure in our next podcast.
Our podcasts are always an adventure.
Always an adventure.
You never know where they're gonna go.
No, that's what makes them exciting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. All right. Bye.
Bye.